Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel, Art Classes My Way. Today we are going to be working with the Filbert brush and a little bit of a round as well for detail areas. And my Filbert's pretty darn old, so give him a break. I could probably give him a very special day of cleaning. But for now, he will do what I wish. Alright. So continuing with my little series on proper brush use, we are also going to be working on reflections as well, water reflections specifically, lake or even a river if you wish, but more natural reflection areas. And I'm going to pick up some brown here, and that should be sufficiently watered down. And I don't want it down there. I'm going to move up here. And I'm going to draw in a few rocks. I'm going to do it nice and light. Because rocks are one of those things where you don't want to end up going too dark, especially with watercolor. You don't want to go too dark right off the bat. So got those guys in there. And I'm going to get a little bit of green, darker green, hooker's green, whatever you want to call it. And you can see my brush is kind of frazzled right now, and that is exactly what I want. A brush that tends to be drier, especially with watercolors. You don't have a whole lot of water in it. That's when the brush starts frazzling a lot like this. Also poor use, but it's one of my first brushes. But that is what I want for a grass effect. Yeah, nice little grass effect. And I'll add details just a little bit later. Filling some of that in. There we go. Alright. I want to switch over to the round and get my rocks a little nicer, a little bit more detail to them. One of the keys with doing reflections is being sure that there is a clear division, even if it's narrow, very tiny. You got to have some indicator of where the reflection ends and where the actual reality begins. So I'm putting in a couple of little black lines to help with that, and I'm going to put in, I need a little more water, get that on there. I'm going to put on a very thick layer of the green for the grass here, so that way clear division where that grass is going to end and where the water is going to start. And I'm going to get a little bit more black, and I'm going to get him really watery. There we go. And I'm just going to do some random areas. If it looks like I'm scribbling, I pretty much am, because rocks are pretty random and it's very hard to replicate rocks in trying to be very precise. If you just use a lot of color, let it look lumpy, it tends to end up translating as rock. Yeah, too much water, or not enough water. And rocks, they have multiple shades and tones. They're not just brown. They'll be brown, they'll be gray, they'll have white flecks in them. Of course, from this distance, we wouldn't see that on these rocks. And some rocks can even have a touch of rust. So I'm going to go and get some of my burnt sienna for some wonderful little accent areas. And just kind of buffering a little bit with just plain water, trying to make my lines nowhere near as harsh as what they kind of pretty much are at the moment. All right, that looks good enough to me. Go back into my grass. Just using pure green for this one. Good enough for what we need. All right, now the Filbert again. We get him fairly wet. I'm gonna pat him off. I don't want him dripping wet, but I want him nice and moist. You can see the water kind of beating up when I put pressure on him. That's about the moisture content that you want. If you squeezed him, yeah, there you get a drop of water out of him, but by himself, he's fairly saturated enough. So now there are two ways that we can go about doing a reflection. I've seen a lot of people, they just take some of the paint that's above and drag it down while going, you know, wavy, 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 wavy. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it, you can go with a round brush and come in and just select areas of color and try to put them roughly in the same place underneath. Not all of the underneath, and you don't want to replicate it perfectly. It'd be more like choppy water. So we're going to see a little bit of both. I'm going to do the wavy technique with these two, and then I'm going to use the choppy with this side, or these two. Pardon me. And all that talking, my brush dried out a little more, so it's getting a little wetter. All right. So I'm going to need some of that green, and I'm going to want it just on the tip of my bristles. And again, like with the fan brush, you're just going to want to use the tips. Might have to concede with this guy here. Do I have any other? Yeah, I do. I'll just use this guy. This guy's, I've taken a, I did this myself with a pair of scissors. Yeah. For this pretty much exact reason. Now probably put the green just as a wiggle over here because of that. There we go. That'll be enough. And then after putting that in, then we got a bit of the gray going on. So pick up some of that black. And then we can pick up some of that brown. And then the really dark black. Whoop. for over there. And I suppose we could put a little bit of sky in there. Get my other Filbert. And this is just a touch of ultramarine. Go over real quick. Glaze. There we go. Super fast. And if I want to take my round and pick up some of this and go in between the grass, it's no big deal. You just got to be quick with it. There we go. All right. So we did that. Go back with this Filbert and do the same thing. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggly, wiggly, wiggly. There we go. So more of a pond look. And there you have one type of reflection. I've seen a lot of people use this method, and it's a good method. It's just not one of my favorites. And now for the rest of our picture. Getting the masking tape out. Get the water off of there, otherwise it'll never work. And I want to just lay him right there. That'll work. Now, I'm not going to push the masking tape down on the actual picture because it's very, very wet. And the masking tape with this 140-pound paper, masking tape, just going to rip the whole thing right off. So I'm not going to push him down there. I just want him on the ends where he won't do any damage to this cheaper, thinner paper. And I want to work on this side. So let's see. Now for this part, my brush nice and wet the way I want him. Now I like to start off with some of the closer colors. I'm going to add a touch of brown to this. There we go. And I'll just select areas with this method to reflect downwards. You can reflect the whole thing like this, or you can just, you know, pick and choose your battles here and there. Now I feel with this method you can get really, really detailed if you want to. No, we're not exactly going for that. We're just going for speed, so that way I don't bore you guys. I make so many long videos. Alright, and then this darker area. And get some of my brown again. And we'll just go in. Well, apparently I need more sienna, not brown. Might have to give him an opportunity to dry a little more there. All right. Now, for the skyward area, and it's even okay to get some of your areas crossing over, like I'm letting the sky bleed into my rocks, because as water is choppy and it reflects, you might get sunlight reflected over here and sunlight reflected over there. You're going to get some sky kind of going in here. It just, as the water's moving and rippling, it could reflect from anywhere. You would never really know where it's going to go. And one of the things the water loves to do is, whoop, some things that basically you only really see in fabric. Now, as you can see, I made a mistake there, so I'm going to turn that into a happy accident. Just a moment. All of you who've ever seen a twig coming out of out of the pond, that is what we're going to do with him. So get the round brush and get some more of that brown. Yay, stick. I'll let him dry a little bit. And to get some of that detail going, pick up some of this blue here. Water it down. We want it slightly more intense to kind of represent ripples. Much smaller area, much finer marks. And then get a little bit more brown. Why rehydrate all you guys? There we go. And then exactly what I was saying in one of my previous episodes about the fan brush. Happy accidents. You know, sometimes, so what if you make a mistake? Make your mistake end up working for you. By making your mistake work for you, you end up with a much more natural picture. Nature's not perfect. Nature is messy. And that's the beauty of it. And if you want your pictures to be as beautiful as nature, you're just going to have to go with the flow. And just putting a few more detail marks in here. This is going to help separate these rocks from each other. And then I think I want some more brown. Kind of got a little washed out on me. And maybe some gray. La 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 la. And there we have it. Now we got lots of light reflection with the little bits of white that have happened throughout this picture, the places where I did not put any paint. We also have some blue going into some areas where it shouldn't, which that is how it actually would happen. I'm very happy with this spot right here, but I can tweak that. We've turned our happy accident into something that feels a little bit more realistic. And you have your two different methods for doing reflections. Well, let's at least bring that down that other side. Just a little bit. I don't know when to quit. What can I say? I like long videos. A little more water here. Come on, guys. At least they're somewhat blended together now. Well, I hope that helps you out with getting started with water reflections. Two different methods and helping you use the Filbert brush. Now, a lot of the biggest mistakes I see beginners using with this poor guy is doing the following. They're using him to paint like this instead of using that nice big broad flat face and using that to paint. And remember, you don't turn it on its side, like so, and then go. It's not using him for what he's supposed to be used for. You gotta use him by going this way. Use the face of him if you're going to cover a large area. Otherwise, if you're using him to paint like this, then you get a round. A round doesn't matter. A round, you can rotate and twist him as much as you want, and you know, it's not going to change the face of him. The face is the same all the way around. So if you're going to use this guy by taking the broad side and go, then pick up something else. You want to use the nice flat face, or if you're not going to use the flatter face of him, once again, just use the tips of the brush. Those nice little hairs on the end there. The hairs on the end of your brush are going to do 99% of your painting. This doesn't do you any good. By flattening him out, this is why he looks so awful. Again, he's one of my demonstration brushes. Flatten him out like this and moving across your page, this doesn't do any good. There's no reason for you to be painting all the way up here. One, that's going to get paint all the way up in here, and when you're trying to clean off your brush and then you go to mix into other paint, well, now all of a sudden you get yellow, you picked up yellow paint. Well, you just got blue that was from previously up here. Now it's mixing in with your yellow. You don't want to do it like this. You just use the end of your brush, just lightly. We're not doing this. We're not trying to flatten him and destroy him and doing this stuff. You just the tips right there. See if I can't use a bigger brush to show. It's a much bigger Filbert. Just the ends. I'm barely. It's 45-degree angle away from the end of the paper. So bring you around to the side of the table here. That is all the brush that I'm using. All that you see in the contact with that paper, that is all that I am using. I'm not doing this. This does nobody any good. You're just nice and soft. Only the end of the brush does all the work. Even if you're mixing paint, only the end of the brush does all the work. If you got paint all the way up in here, you just ruined all that paint, because all that paint is now going to get washed out and wasted. Just the end of the brush. So, I hope this helped you guys out. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And if you'd like to help support me, you can always visit my Etsy account at Naughty Dog Studio, Naughty Dog Jewelry on Facebook. And I'd love to see you guys there. Please also leave comments of what you would like to learn how to paint, be it watercolor or acrylics and what have you. Let's see if I can't remove this here. No, I gotta do the other way. Now with this thinner paper, I really want to be careful, because my last one I ended up like taking off that whole top layer. The whole top layer of paper, not paint, but ran amok with all of it. Yeah, like that. So I'm going to start from the other end. There we go. That'll probably help out. This is why I like 400-pound paper. You gonna take off the bottom? Nope. You're gonna behave yourself. All right. Hey. I'll turn that into something. So, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. You guys all have a good one. Bye.